I'm Tony Neely. This is the Coach Lowell blog and podcast. We are a community of people interested in the way innovators do their craft, protect what they build, and make their way in the world. Our guests and contributors include current and future entrepreneurs, intellectual property specialists, athletes, martial artists, inventors, artists, and anyone I like to talk to. Jake?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming. How do you pronounce your last name?
Ostreicher.
Ostreicher. Jake Ostreicher.
Yeah.
Jake is the owner of the barbershop I go to.
Shop.
Shop in Medfield, Massachusetts.
That's right.
The master barber. And we met at a local Starbucks a few years ago.
Yeah.
And he is an artist, creates beats.
Yeah, hip hop in general, yeah.
Hip hop in general, rap.
Rhymes, beats.
Rhymes. He's got a history doing that. We're going to talk a little bit about that. His website is jakecutsfresh.com.
That's right.
Nice. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks, man. Good stuff.
We talked about doing this a while ago. I'm glad we finally did.
Yeah, it's a lot of... I got scheduling problems, so...
Busy man.
Well, I'm not as busy as I'm just easily confused by numbers and dates.
Well, you're still pretty busy, though.
Well, yeah, no, I'm busy.
Parent, kids, other stuff going on. Business, running a business.
Coaching, that just ended.
Oh, and coaching, and doing your art.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And you're also trying to get more involved with social media, too, right?
Yeah, well, trying to figure out what's the best bang for the buck. I'm trying to get more efficient with social media. I think I have to stop posting with social media. But it's like, for what? Like, what am I posting? Why am I posting it? Everybody's really flooded now, right?
Well, it's true. I think my son's, he advises people on this, but he says just post and then you'll get better and better and better.
Yeah.
The quality of what you get will get better and better. He also says, because I'm a student of his, so we're both in the same boat. Because I'm 59, I want to be 50, I want to be 60. Is there a 59 and a half? I want to be 59 and a half in a few months. So I just, and I'm a lawyer, so I was brought up by, it's like word of mouth.
Yeah.
We didn't take selfies. We didn't grow up doing that, whereas now
the thing is,
you communicate, kids communicate with their friends through selfies, through Snapchat, through all that kind of stuff. So they're just used to it, I think.
Yeah. It's a different world. I mean, obviously, and that's fine. I'm all for that.
Yeah. I
think there was a time where I really was able to leverage social media, and I was posting all the time, and I was going because I had a podcast too for a while. I had a Barber podcast I did for 3 or 4 years or something like that.
Oh, awesome! Yeah,
and I didn't continue it through COVID. I kind of ran out of steam on it. That's a whole side note. But bottom line is that I was posting them out for that.
Yeah.
So what I kind of learned when I was doing that was I would post about the episode that I just recorded, and then when it's coming out, and then I would post snippets of the key points that I liked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was pretty archaic. I would just screen record my phone playing it and then just put that on Instagram, Facebook. Still not really into TikTok. Twitter, I was big on Twitter. Time Snapchat for a while. Snapchat's certainly an under 30 platform, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I feel like 90% of the people I talk to or that I was trying to reach were over that age. So I didn't find a lot of use for Snapchat.
It's an interesting intergenerational thing now where if you think about it, just because we're older doesn't mean that decision makers, people who are influential, people that could be our, like my clients for my law business, or people that I train doing martial arts, or your customers for your business, for hair. or your fans, it doesn't mean that they can't be in their teens, 20s, or 30s. And if you think about it, I mean, it's quickly becoming their world. Like you have like managers at the top levels who all kinds of businesses that are in their 30s now.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, like even though those types of social media are targeting those groups,
yeah, I think
those are pretty good groups to get exposed to.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think I may not be correct in this thought process, but I want to like find out I know who my ideal client is to shop.
Right.
And I know how to talk to them.
Right.
And that's how we've been successful.
Yeah.
My ideal client for my music is I don't have.
Right.
But what the numbers for Spotify would tell me is that they're all 35 to 55 years old.
Okay.
And they're all male.
Oh, man. Oh, okay.
There's like 2% female, which I'm pretty sure is my girlfriend.
And your mom, like your girlfriend and your mom.
Yeah. I don't think my mom's listened to my music one time. I've been making music since like 1995.
When that's amazing. So we're gonna talk about that. But I was thinking, so I taught for a year, a couple of years ago when COVID was bad and my practice slowed down, and I had middle schoolers, as you know, it was a high school. It was a high school.
Oh.
But they go into the high school in eighth grade. It was in Taunton.
Okay.
And I was teaching science. So it was like, and I've got my kids, so I've always tried to figure out how do I relate, how do I go into their world?
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit about obviously rap and the genres, but my son, who is now a tattoo artist, when he was 15, he came to live with me, and he would put his music on in the car.
Yeah.
And I would suffer. Not only would I suffer listening to music because I didn't understand it, I wasn't a fan of it because it was new to me. And it scared me because I don't want my 15-year-old listening to music talking about, guns, or talking about even something like, smoking weed and lean.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. So stuff that people talk about in the genre. So it was an education for me.
Yeah.
So then I started trying to figure out a way to kind of like, how do we bridge that gap between the generations?
Right.
Which is for me, it's cool because one of the things I do as a lawyer is I'm always trying to learn and think about how do I talk to different people so they understand me.
Sure. Find out like their level.
Yeah. So in a way, tell me if I'm correct, but in a way, is an art like that where you're communicating to people. Like you're communicating what you want to communicate, but you're still communicating to someone else.
Yeah, I think that's true for some artists. I don't think it's true for me.
Right. Well,
I don't make music for anybody except I feel like a vessel. I feel like these songs come to me.
Yeah.
And I need to say them.
Yeah.
And not give people a path to find them, and I don't know what's supposed to happen after that. That's where it's getting to divine.
That's cool. Well, there's some interesting. There's some.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
If I was like Doechii, like we just won the Grammy for best rap album,
yeah,
I would be trying to figure out what people want to hear because that's.
Do you think she's doing that, or do you think she's doing herself?
I know unless I talk.
I started following her on TikTok. She's really like genuine, like she literally like will just get up and start posting stuff.
Yeah.
Like with her hair all, like like if you see some of the stuff, like when she did that little desk, was it called Tiny Desk or something?
Yeah, sure.
She was like, she had these things holding her eyes back. And she had makeup on and she looked amazing. And then, but you see some of her posts and she's really funny. She's like she's real. Like
she's zany. She's an artist. She's really an artist.
Yeah.
Which is why I was glad how much she won. I don't particularly care for the Grammys or like award shows like that because.
Oh yeah.
Because like maybe we'll get into this, but hip hop is like it's a culture and a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it's not had nothing to do with mainstream media.
And what year did you get involved with hip hop?
I mean, depends on what you consider involved. Like, I started writing rhymes in like 93.
92. Okay.
I first heard like real hip hop in like 87, probably 88.
Okay.
And then was like, I never heard anything like
And that was still, it was still new in the.
that was
80s.
like, it was getting to the suburbs. You know, I grew up right here. And I grew up in Princeton. So I heard Run DMC. And I was like, what is this? This is dangerous and crazy and awesome and fun and bombastic and brazen and melodic and all these. I'm just, wow, it was like 8.
They were interesting. They were an interesting group.
I don't know if we should curse on this, but I was
I don't care.
okay. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What is this glorious noise? Like, and then Fresh Prince had come out with Parents Just Don't Understand, that whole album.
Yeah.
It was really relatable to a kid in the suburbs.
Yeah.
You know, like borrow your parents' car and get in trouble. Having both parents, first of all.
Right.
You know, like that's how I grew up. You know what I mean? Like things are really relatable, and I started to love it. And then I started to learn more and more and more, and I started to realize that this is why I've been waiting to hear my whole life. Like I'm at this point, I can't, right? So I'm my whole life, but I've never been the same since that day.
It's not a minor thing too that you had BET and you had MTV.
Yeah,
and you had some of these
VH1 was still
VH1. You had these media vehicles where they were there was this cultural meshing of all the different genres on TV.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to watch it. And so if you're a kid, you start to identify with different people from different backgrounds, even though they're not in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, it really, like you were in touch with New York, which is where a lot of the hip hop came from.
Yeah, the culture on that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I heard NWA and then talking about the police.
That
I was like, they're gonna get arrested for this. They can't say that. And my friend was like, no, it's freedom of speech, man. And I said, whoa.
Who was the guy that got in trouble for not sticking to the genre?
No.
The rapper that he was doing the soundtrack for some of the movies and stuff. He had this funny way of dancing sideways with the big baggy pants.
Oh, MC Hammer?
MC Hammer, yeah. And I remember having arguments with some friends that I was working with because I was like, why are they saying he's a sellout? You know, and so we were arguing about it. Yeah. But I was working at a law firm at the time, law school, and I would listen to what I liked, but I didn't have the time to really pay attention to it.
Yeah,
at the time. But so going back to the social media thing, just to kind of close that loop. So my son says to do is when you post on social media, and it takes a while because you got to keep on working on the craft of social media.
Yeah,
is you 80% of the time you want to provide value,
and
that builds your brand.
Yes.
And the people that like the value that you're providing start to follow you and start to associate you with that value, and they start to know you and trust you. And so they feel familiar with you, they trust you, and then 20% of the time you want to do a call to action where you're gonna, like listen to my music or come to our shop or follow my podcast, whatever. So that's what, and because of the way that I can't remember what the terminology uses, but it's like a really unique opportunity right now because the way the internet is and the way these social media platforms are, there is an opportunity to really reach a lot of people. And it might just be your niche people that like you. Yeah. It doesn't have to be millions of followers, you know what I mean?
Right.
But
I'm not interested in that either. Yeah, millions.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be that. It could be like 1,000. It could be like
just what they would call a tribe of people.
Yeah, people that picture relate to.
Make 1,000 true fans. They say I've heard that. If you have 1,000 true fans that buy a hoodie every year and an album off you every year,
that's a start, right?
That's like $80. That's 80,000 a year.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. I can live off that.
A lot of people are doing that with Substack now, where they're getting a lot of independent journalists.
Yeah.
This is going to be posted on Substack as well as Spotify, but people charge like $5-10 a month on Substack.
Yeah.
So if you have a couple thousand followers, it's pretty significant.
And
there's some people I follow. Shout out to Matt Taibbi, and I like Glenn Lowry. He's a professor over at Brown University.
nice.
I don't know, like his Substack, and there's a couple, one or two others I pay for. So what's the town you grew up in?
Medway.
Medway.
Yeah, right next door. Yeah.
Were you born in
I was born in Framingham.
Yep.
Family with a native. My family's both my parents from natives. But Massachusetts, yeah.
Yeah.
And lived in Medway from when I was like first grade all the way through high school to college. First year of college, I think I did in Medway Community, and then I moved to Framingham. I lived in Framingham for a long time.
Where did you go to college?
Framingham State.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I did not finish. I did 2 years and then dropped out. And I didn't even formally withdraw. So that was a giant mistake.
What?
No giants. I didn't actually withdraw, so I just didn't show up. And I got zeros for a whole year. I brought the GCA down to like 2.1.
So you could have withdrawn, and they wouldn't have counted against your grades.
I would have still given out the money, but they wouldn't have at least cut the grades.
Yeah.
I had a good GPA if I wanted to go back.
Yeah.
Because I tried to go back when I was 30.
What were you studying?
Communications.
Okay.
So I wanted to be a studio engineer. This is a funny story. This is what happens when your parents don't know what they're doing, and I'm not. My parents understand this. We've gone through all this. I'm not like dogging them out. We're at peace with all of this now. They were kids, had kids, and they were figuring it out. So I really wanted to be a studio engineer. I wanted to own a studio or run a studio and just listen to music, like specifically rap music all day, and create it, edit it. And there was Northeast College of Communications, which became Art Institute of Boston. There's a couple different iterations of it, but basically it was called Northeast College of Communications, which was $9,000 a year, or a semester, rather, 2-year school. Then there was Framingham State, that was $6,000 a semester, 4-year school. So I go, well, that's cheaper, I'll go there.
Framingham State.
Yeah.
It was cheaper.
It's not cheaper at 4 years.
Right.
It's cheaper at 2 years.
Right.
Duh. So I didn't go there. I went to Framingham State. I took all of the audio production courses I could take in the first year.
Okay, so you learned that.
Yeah, I was bored off my ass though.
Yeah.
They didn't have real studios I could go learn it. They had a
Didn't they have don't they have a well, they may not have back then. Didn't they have a program like that at Berkeley School of Music?
They did. I tried to get in there. I didn't play an instrument.
But they did have the studio courses too.
You have to play an instrument to get into Berkeley.
Right.
At that time, it might be different now.
Yeah.
UMass Lowell's their music program. You have to play an instrument. I said, well, I play an instrument, I rap. And I want to start making beats. So like and this was before Eminem came. Nobody.
And they wouldn't recognize rap as a.
Who gives a shit?
If you were a singer.
Yeah.
If you were a singer, they put at you. Right.
Really frustrating. So I chose the school that was cheaper, but it wasn't even cheaper. It was just like my parents, like they just didn't. They did a good thing. They raised you really well because when I was like 14,
it hasn't gotten better among the parent community.
Yeah, yeah,
because we're confused, right? Like I was actually talking to a friend of mine the other day. So my youngest he wants to go to URI, University of Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
He could probably go to UMass and pay less. So, and UMass is, if you went to UMass Amherst, probably better.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that, like financially, what are we paying the extra? What are you paying the extra money for? So there are some interesting, different points of view on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you end up with, the student ends up with that, the parents end up with that.
Yeah.
It's
I think, in my opinion, all from college is like an overpriced, shitty product right now.
It is. It's becoming, and there's some layers to that where it's getting worse in some ways. It's, it really is. It's true. That's a really interesting issue just there. So your parents Did they go to college?
Later, my mom went to college. In fact, we would have graduated on the same day had I stayed in.
Because my parents didn't go to college either, so they didn't have a clue either.
My dad didn't want to ever go to college. Yeah, he didn't. He was like, "Well, if you want to go, you can go." But we didn't have the money, so
Yeah.
and that was fine. And my mom went later and became a nurse, so it was a cool, proud moment to watch her do that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, her brothers and sisters all went to college. But I think what it was is that when I was like 14 or 15, my mom, and they were pretty much like, you're raised, you're good, just go do your life. And so I did. And I'm thankful because I have what I have now.
Yeah.
And I know how to provide.
You were very independent. They weren't like looking over your shoulder all the time.
Never. They didn't buy me, but they also never bought me clothes, and they never bought me. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't say that they didn't buy me my first car, like a $900 Fox, right?
Yeah.
What? So I can't. So, but after I had a job and did that, they didn't really. It was just kind of you're on your own.
That was common.
The college orientation stuff by myself. I did all the applications. They didn't even know that I was. They didn't even know what college I went to. They didn't know when I dropped out.
Oh, really?
They knew once I started going to Framing State. They knew.
Yeah.
They didn't know that I chose it.
Were you living in Framingham at the time?
I was in Medway commuting, and then after a while, we know what it was is I wanted to I went and lived on campus.
Okay.
But it was way more fun to live on campus.
Yeah.
And I said, man, it's just about cheaper to go get an apartment, and then you don't have any of these rules. And so I did that.
So you went there. So you went there your first or second year and got your own apartment.
Yeah. So first year I commuted. First semester of the year 2, I believe. I forget exactly how it went down. My buddy Dave will remember that. But anyway, I ended up getting. No, I think I got second semester of the second year is when I decided to live on campus. That's what it was.
Well,
and then I ended up getting an apartment that summer because I didn't want to go home.
So I commuted my first year. I went to Western New England.
What was that?
In Springfield.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to be an artist. And because I like to draw. And so people would be like, well, you should be a graphic design. You should study that.
Yeah.
And I didn't really understand why graphic design. I don't think I was that interested in doing graphic design. I just wanted to be an artist.
Yeah.
But I had some interest in music. I was playing guitar, but I was good at math and science. So some people told me, well, you should study engineering. So I ended up going to school for electrical engineering. My dad talked to somebody and he's like, oh, you're not going to make money doing graphic design. So I went to college, I got accepted, and I commuted my first year.
Yeah.
And it was cheaper back then.
Yeah.
A little bit cheaper. And but when you're commuting, you're kind of not part of the community.
Right.
So I moved on campus my second year.
Yeah.
As a sophomore, I was living on campus. Then as a junior, I lived on campus. And then I made a decision because I wanted more independence and it was cheaper. I made a decision to get an apartment my senior year.
Yeah.
And I have some regrets because that pulled me back away from the community.
Oh, right. Right.
Because you're not plugged in, on campus. Different schools are different, but at the time it mattered.
That's the same experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was much easier. My grades were way better when I lived on campus. Because the kid that was in my such and such class lived down the hall. So I'll talk to him like, yeah, man, I don't get this. Do you get this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was much more helpful. I was involved in extra groups and all the clubs and stuff.
Yeah. Right.
So I was fun.
Yeah, that's how I got involved with martial arts. I started doing martial arts with them.
So you still draw?
Not enough. I write a lot, and now I'm doing other types of media, but not enough. I drew that.
I was gonna ask you who drew that over there.
And I drew this when I was 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Or I was a kid and I did this.
Yeah, hey, that's pretty good.
Thank you. So yeah, I want to get back into it.
You know
I want to do airbrush actually.
Oh yeah, that's it. So you have to do something to make money, and then you have to do something that makes your soul sick.
Yeah.
And sometimes they can be the same thing, but not often. I don't know many people that can't. I feel, and maybe you can relate to this. my parents they just didn't have any idea what to do with me. Where I was super into hip hop, and all of a sudden it like became like my religion. Really, it's a culture. Yeah. It's more so than just like, oh, I like listening to the radio. I like.
But you're living in Medway.
Yeah, that was not acceptable. I had 3 or 4 friends that liked hip hop, thank God, and their parents were cool with it, and they would take us in the city and let us go buy different albums and stuff like. But it's not like. I sometimes I go, oh, I wish my artistic side was nurtured more. But my parents were like, "Fuck that! You gotta make money." What are you talking about?
Yeah, because you were so much into it that you were so much into it, and they just didn't see any avenue for you to make money doing that. So,
right.
But it wasn't like you were working. I don't know. Were you working? You were always working, making money.
Yeah.
But they were concerned about whether it was a future.
They thought it was dangerous. They thought it was for sleep with black people.
Okay.
And not and it was like, and still is, to get signed to a major label. There wasn't as many independent labels. There was no. Now I put a song on myself. I can make a song tonight. I'll have it out tomorrow.
Yeah.
The way it goes. But that didn't exist, right? So you had to know somebody, you had to get signed on and stuff, and they didn't see that. And I didn't even understand all that, so I couldn't even explain it to them. I just like doing it, and it makes me feel like me. So I want to do it, but they didn't want me to do it.
They thought it was
like contraband.
It was a bad influence.
Maybe. I don't really know. I think they just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And I think that they just want you to be better than them, right? So they'll tell you, well, this doesn't make money, this does.
Mm-hmm.
And so okay, then I'll get on the business side, I'll be an engineer.
Yeah.
Or even that I didn't really do. And then it was like, you won't have it to barber school. After I ended up dropping out of college, they're like, yeah, like, we can't make much money doing that. I mean, my barber only charges $12. I don't know how many heads he's doing a day, but you got to do a lot of heads to make any money in that. I said, well, barbershop, I can go till they charge 20, and dudes go every week. Who gets the haircut every week? Nobody does it.
Yeah.
People of color get the haircut every week. This is the thing. Like, I've always been around other people. Like, as soon as I got my license, I was not hanging out Medway. I was hanging out Framing.
So there's a market for,
I'm starting to see, like, oh, these guys at a black barbershop, these guys come almost every week. And they're charging this much. Like, I could work here? Mm-hmm. I never thought, oh, it's going to be, nobody ever.
Yeah.
But when you say that to level-headed suburban parents, are like,
well, they don't know.
What are you talking about?
They don't think of it being like, well, even my son's a tattoo artist. There are a lot of tattoo artists that don't make good money.
Yeah.
And he's making really good money.
Yeah.
And I know you've had some success with your barbershop.
At one point, it was very, very, what to the world would be very successful.
Yeah.
I've been making a lot of money. Now it's more simplistic. I got just down to one shop after COVID. It was a little easier for me to handle.
So is that what happened? Did COVID affect your business?
Yeah, it did. But the best way I could put it is that COVID stress tested everything I built. My marriage, specifically, my household, my family, my shop. I didn't know how to run a business. I know how to open a business. I didn't know anything about balancing books and keeping stats. All the data that people fight so hard for and businesses fight so hard for and sell, I had at my fingertips and didn't really understand. I just knew that people liked coming there, and we expanded quickly from 3 chairs to a place that had 5 chairs, and we blew that out. And we kept adding chairs. I ended up knocking a wall down in that shop, and we had in Milford.
That was the one in Milford. You my assignment to that.
Yeah, so that was 8 chairs in that shop.
Yeah,
and that
was busy too. I remember
it was never not busy.
Yeah.
Wednesday morning at 10:30 in the morning, it was a 2-hour wait if you didn't have a point.
Wow,
it was fantastic.
Yeah,
and I'm making money hand over fist, and it's great. I didn't have a business structure, so every barber in there had a different agreement with me. Every barber had a different set of rules, and it got very difficult to keep a brand going when there's no structure.
Yeah, it must have been difficult to keep track of it all, too.
It was very difficult. And people started talking, and they started walking. You're only paying, I'm paying, I'm charged. Wait, and a little bit of a coup started, and that's my fault. I didn't know what I was doing.
It happens a lot in the beauty industry too. There are a lot of,
I would imagine.
like, there's a lot of coups.
Yeah. People think that when you own a business that you go home and light $100 bills on fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's very hard to manage people and nurture them and
My wife, when I was married, she made a lot. She made like 3x what I made. Maybe not that much that time, but a lot more than I made. And we had 2 houses. We had a house in Newport. We had a house in Bellingham that we built custom. We had nice cars. She had 2 cars. So it's very difficult for some people to either relate to you or whatever. I just felt like people were like, oh, it must be nice all the time to me. But I felt like I'm still working my ass off over there. I'm still here more than you.
Oh, yeah.
And like at the end of the day, once I paid all the bills and all the overhead, we're making around the same amount of money. I just don't buy a lot of sneakers like you or a lot of drugs like you or what each person, whatever it was, right? And so I started to get a little chip on my shoulder, like, oh, fuck me? No, fuck you. You know, and then that wasn't good either. And I attribute that shop to being, you ever see the ladies on halftime shows will stack 1,000 teacups? They can just balance teacups. You ever see that?
No.
The lady will be like on a unicycle balancing like 25
And then they'll sell those or something?
No, like that's what I was doing. I was on a unicycle just balancing this thing that built. It just kept adding, but then it fell.
I had a friend, it was actually my former hair boss. I was an in-house counsel to this company. And he mentioned this metaphor because he had like $4 million invested in this company. And the company at some point was worth a lot of money and you're planning on going public and all that. But he's like, it's like wing walking.
Yeah.
You know, wing walking where
It's the guys in the biplanes.
the old biplanes in the early 1900s where you get up on the plane and you get up and another plane pulls up next to you.
Yeah.
And you got to get outside of the cockpit and you got to walk out onto the wing.
Oh, that's great.
And then you have to walk onto the wing of the next plane.
Yeah.
It's like wing walking because you're finally up there.
Yeah.
But if anything goes wrong, you're fucked.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's who did wing walking when he was like 20 is Charles, the guy that flew across the Atlantic, the first guy to fly across.
Oh, I know his name. I know.
Lindbergh, Charles Lindbergh.
Oh, yeah.
He did that when he was like 20. He did that. And then after he did that, he got a job as a mail deliverer, and they flew planes, and there was a 30 to 40% death rate among the pilots that flew the planes that delivered mail.
Why?
I don't know. I guess it was risky because the planes were not as reliable. I don't know. Isn't that wild? That's what he did. So anyways, I just thought that was an amazing metaphor because just because you're successful doesn't mean that you're not looking, you have people that work for you, you have your family, you have all these things that you have to take care of, right? And if anything doesn't work right, like you said, pulling all the cups up in the air, at any point in time,
they crash.
They can all go crash, right?
Yeah.
I could tell you too that, I'm sure my experience is different, but there's some related similarities. It's not a good strategy for business and for money to get a divorce.
Yeah.
It doesn't treat you well financially.
Yeah,
because now you got 2 homes, you got the emotional challenges of going through it that affects your business.
Yeah, I think luckily she and I just sat down for 2 really awkward nights and just made a plan.
That's good.
Stuck to it, and neither one of us wanted money from the other person. We just wanted to put everything down the middle, which I'm really thankful for that because that could have made things really difficult because we really relied our lifestyle mostly came from her income. And I never really cared about having that lifestyle, but if that's what she wants, let's do it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't need 2 houses. I don't need 2 cars. I don't need that kind of stuff. I just want, just what you to selfish with my kids.
Yeah.
And, make beats. That's, all that's all I really need. I'm very simple.
Awesome.
But if that's what you want, cool. And then we did that. But luckily, we were able to sell the second home, split the profit off of that. She bought me out of the equity of the house that we already had, which wasn't a crazy amount. And I didn't even really want all of the money that I was technically by law entitled to, since she put from her business, put most of the money in, right? And so that I'm really thankful. Like, no matter how much we disagreed out of this day, like, I can always look back and be like, damn, man, we like, as far as divorces go, I was about as clean as it gets.
It was a messy divorce. Like, you guys,
Yeah, I guess so.
treating each other reasonably well, considering.
Yeah, yes, but I mean, it was emotionally nuts. I lost a lot of weight. I couldn't eat once. And I didn't want to get divorced. I wanted to work it out. But when you get to a point to realize they're not even close to wanting the same thing, then it's probably best to just walk away and let time heal things.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we did. But now, like, I think we're both good. I think we both realize that we're not great for each other. We don't want to be with each other.
Yeah.
We just co-parent best we can. And, so that was good. That was another effect of COVID. So it was like 2 shots. So I had just opened Medfield, and then COVID happened. So I had 2 locations. I'm feeling like, man, dude, I'm making, a lot of money. It's starting to go good. My plan starting to work. Like, and then COVID hits, and we shut down to flatten the curves, and then a week later, they shut everybody down anyway. And
all the revenue goes away.
Revenue's gone. She's also in the same industry. She's in the hair industry.
Oh, she is?
No income. 0 income. We had a nice little savings. We were selling anything that wasn't bolted to the ground.
One of my clients has a hair salon in Midway, and she's doing really well. And yeah, once COVID hit,
She got hurt.
it was.
She good? She back? But no.
She bounced back. She was real tough.
Yeah.
She owns Belux.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Heather Cohen.
Yep.
Heather
I
Cohen.
just love her. I don't know her.
She's a badass. Yeah, she actually during COVID she went bold. She moved to another space in the same building that's like 3 times the size,
Wow.
and so all the stations were beyond the safe distance from each other.
Yeah.
And amazing space. And she went hard, and I think she's doing really well. But it was so hard on that business. And in my business, I had a client that I was getting a lot of work from, and right at the beginning of COVID, they hired somebody in-house to do the work. So my work went away, but I couldn't go out and meet clients, and I couldn't, there wasn't the same, there were conferences and networking and all that kind of stuff. And so everybody was kind of like quiet and sticking to themselves. So it was hard to rebuild that during that time. Yeah, that was hard.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite time. But, so this is probably a good segue. Like, we get divorced. So that Milford crashes out. Everybody, I jumped the gun on, I changed the pay structure, freaked people out. They left. A lot of people left open their own shops.
Was this when people were starting to come back?
Yeah. Tough thing about coming back was that we had 8 chairs. You could only have 10 people in the amount of space we had. So I could only run 4 barbers at a time. So 4 barbers, 4 clients. I could do 5 barbers, 5 clients, and then we didn't have even space in. All those rules were bullshit.
Oh, because of the COVID rules.
Yeah. All the COVID rules were bullshit. They killed us. So I have 4 at a time in shifts. And it was weird. What I should have done was just have 4 guys get let go, and my 4 top dogs to just stay full days, full time. That's what I should have done.
But you tried to keep them all, and then they all left.
I try to keep right, basically. But then I changed them from a chair rental structure, which highly favors the barber, to a W-2 commission, which in the long term can really actually benefit the barber. But it's a drastic change in how a man brings money back home.
Right. Yeah.
And I know that, and I fucked with that. And I called them all up like a year later to apologize.
Yeah.
Because I shouldn't have jumped the gun that quickly on it, but I literally didn't see any other way to make it happen. I was doing the best I could with the information I had down. That crashed it down. Now I got my other barber over here was managing the other shop. He leaves. So now I've got 3 employees across 13 chairs across 2 shops. This shop's not Hackett in Milford. I'm using anything I make over here. My overhead in Medfield was much lower at the time.
So you're paying for the Milford over there.
Yeah, and I'm just keep dumping. I was appealing like crazy to the landlord to let me out of the lease, so let me just get out of there. And he wasn't having it, and it was just a bunch of stuff. And then some days I'd get it. You know, I was.
That's hard with the leases. It's really hard.
I would drink a lot. You know, I'm sober now, but I would drink a lot during that time, and I would get like beer muscles. I'd be like, "Oh, fuck this! I can do this. I'm not closing it. I'm not selling it. Fuck that. I'm not gonna lose. I'm going all the way."
Yeah.
And then 3 days go by, and I'm like, "How am I? I can't even afford the heat for this whole place right now."
Yeah.
I think it sucked. So anyway, stress tested what I built. Didn't last very good. So I sold it to one of my barbers who left and then wanted to come back, or left the situation that wasn't good for him. Anyway, he bought it and he's doing very. That worked out great. So I just traded with the lease to him.
Yeah.
And then that's when things started to get weird. Like really weird. Like, oh shit, like this ain't going good. This ain't. And then so we were done. At a certain point, I said, okay, we're done. It took me about 3 months to be like, okay, fine, if that's what you want. That's what you want. Moved out, blah, blah, blah. Tried to figure out my life. I had my whole next 30 years planned. Now it's different because the person doesn't want to do that. You know, so there was all that. So right off the bat, my son, Cooper, my younger son, who's like a mini-me personality-wise, he looks just like her and acts just like me. It's really weird.
That's funny.
My oldest son looks exactly like me and acts a lot like her. So he's like, hey, remember when we used to make beats during COVID? Because I used to have this little app on my iPad to make like little drum pads. He was like, I want to do that again. I'm like, yeah, me too. And I started like going through all my old equipment and seeing what I had.
Yeah.
And I started breaking stuff out and figuring things out and trying things. And I'm like, oh man, it didn't really work very well. Or I didn't really know how to use the software. I got kind of discouraged. But I have 2 friends, my boy Mateo Getz and my buddy CJ Ladd, who I like to shout those guys up that were like sending me beats like, rap on this, rap on this, rap on this. I'm like, guys, I don't really rap anymore because I had a whole rap career until I had my first kid. And I thought that they were like mutually exclusive, like you couldn't do both.
Right.
And it was really weird for me. It was really a strange time. Like I just literally packed all my shit in a box
And just stop
and put it in the shed. And then I literally brought that to my new house when I moved out after my divorce and opened it up and put it all back on my kitchen table. Like, how the fuck do you even use this stuff? You know what I mean? Like, and started, CJ would just keep sending me stuff he made, and he finally sent me this beat, and I was like, I'll rap on that. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. And I wrote some really poignant things to it, and we recorded at the barber shop in Medfield in the back.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
My boy Mateo was sending me beats all the time. He makes like 10 beats a day. He's a maniac. So he's sending me out stuff. He's like, I'm picking these 3 beats. We're going to write to him. We're going to go to a studio. He's like, all right. And we did that.
That's awesome.
And it was terrible. It was not good because I hadn't really been ready. Oh, no, actually, you know what happened? He was like, send me this beat. And I was like, this beat is crazy. You made this? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, dude, I got to do something. He's like, do something. What are you doing? This is before I was divorced.
Yeah.
So I made this one song. I brought my mentor with me, my man, XL. I met him when I was 15. He's been rapping for years, was in groups, toured, and all this stuff. I mean, record store.
I read that on your little bio.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's him. So my boy had met him and told him I rapped, so I brought him this little demo tape I made in my parents' basement. This is like we're like in 10th or 11th grade. He took me on his wing, so on and so. Anyway, he came to me to the studio that night because it was also my birthday. So we were going to be hanging out. And we got back in the car. He's like, I'm just saying, been 10 years since you've been in the booth rapping, and you put that out tonight. That was really good.
Oh, that's nice.
You might want to think about getting back doing this. Yeah. He gave me his number or his Instagram. The guy he uses a great piece. Like, just hit this guy up for some beats. Tell him I sent you. You need to start making music again. Fast forward a little more time into the song with CJ. I'm like thinking about it. I was still married when he's telling me this, and I'm telling my ex-wife about it, and she's kind of like, I don't see the point, you know? Like, she didn't, if it wasn't making money or buying more property, she wasn't really interested. That's just how she did. That's fine. It's just, I'm an artist, you know? But I wasn't an artist when I was with her. Like, I feel bad. Like, she never really got to know the real me because I didn't know the real me.
And she didn't have a desire to kind of cultivate it that anew. Or
Definitely not.
Anew.
Right, definitely not.
Yeah.
She knew I rapped because when I met her, I rapped, and I was young. I was 25, 27, whatever. But we had kids, we have a house, we have a mortgage, we both own businesses.
I have a, so it's funny, I don't know, this is a really weird parallel, but like you with your parents and then maybe with your ex-wife, I don't know, but like, it's like you have this part of you in this language or whatever.
Yeah.
This way of expressing that they didn't understand.
Correct.
I feel like that's the curse I have because part of what I do is I do patents.
Yeah.
For clients, and it's technology, so it's really complex inventions, and then I have to describe them, and then I help my clients get a patent on the patent trademark eyes. And it's like through words you describe this one section of the patent, you describe in these paragraphs like dictionary definitions that describe what the invention is, and then that's used to determine what you own.
Yeah.
So you can exclude others from doing that. So there's these words that describe like a chair with 5 legs, and now any chair that has 5 legs falls within that patent, and they can't do it.
Okay.
So it might be AI related. It might be some new way of doing telephone calls over the internet or something. I got a client patent on that. Every time I work on a patent, I can't just say, "Oh, look what I did."
Right.
To anybody, because they look at it and they're just like, "Oh, that's nice," and it just And I wrote a book. I have a book on patent strategy.
Yeah.
And whenever I tell anybody I wrote a book, and they're like, "Oh, that must be a good read."
Is that it? Yeah.
It's
Sorry,
like,
it's not fucking.
it's like, whereas like,
right.
my son does tattoos, and then somebody he right away, everybody's looking at the tattoo like, "That's an awesome tattoo." If I do a patent, work on a patent for a client, like I show people, and they just see a bunch of technical diagrams and some words, and they're like, "Oh, okay, nice." So
I know exactly what you mean. I said something very similar to my parents at one point where I was like, it really bothered me. You guys never really supported me in this. And like I made at that point I have like 5 albums out.
wow,
And I don't think you've heard one of them. And they're like, no, we haven't. I'm like, dude, listen to one album.
yeah,
I gave him 5 albums, didn't listen to one of them. Probably like to at least give them to somebody else to listen to.
yeah.
No, not sure why. We don't know. Like, okay. And the metaphor I told myself, I understand that I wrote a book in Japanese. And I want you to be proud of my Japanese book that you can't read. I understand that's weird.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like if my kid did something that they understand, like my son's super into dirt biking, there's all this terminology, I don't understand it.
It's hard to go into their world if you don't understand.
Oh, I just did this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
sick. Can you show me? Like, can you show me what it is on YouTube, or did your friend record it?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, why is that difficult? Or like, what about it makes it a skill?
Yeah.
Let me understand.
Yeah. So you try to go into their world and learn.
Yeah, a little bit,
That's why it's a big story. It's a big thing for me. Like when my kids bring me into their music, and I never stop them. Like even my he's almost 18. It's my youngest. When we get in the car, he's like, "I put my music on," and I never stop him.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, "Oh, explain that to me," or like, "What do you like?" or "Why do you like that?"
Yeah.
And then we went to Florida to look at a couple schools, and we were down there, and he's really kind of geeks out on cars. So he's like, "You see that Charger over there? You see that Corvette over there?" And he starts naming the model and like all about it. And I'm driving, so I can't like, I'm like, "No, I don't see it." I'm like driving, I can't see. So he's like, but I try to like listen and go into that world. And I think that with my parents, like it was hard. Like it was hard for them to come into my world when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we can a little bit, but still, you're always going to have that little bit of misunderstanding.
Yeah.
You're not going to completely understand, but
It doesn't move me. Like, dirt biking doesn't make me feel alive.
yeah,
Like, it makes him feel alive. But music always did that for me.
yeah. And you want to learn.
So I have something that makes me feel alive as well.
Yeah,
And so because of that, we can relate.
yeah,
Well, yeah, to your point, we're not gonna.
He's the older one. He's the one that looks like you, but not more.
Yeah, right.
And then the younger one likes the beats and stuff like that. Does he?
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. He's mainly into video games right now and playing basketball, but he will find something that he's interested in on YouTube and be like, oh, like he was like obsessed with cup stacking at one point.
Yeah.
He was obsessed with graffiti at one point. And he practiced for hours. He's a real practitioner. Oh, they both are, actually.
That's awesome.
They both are. They both have the uncanny knack from their mom to just be good at stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I love that they have that trait. Like her and her whole family, like they try something twice and they're like pretty good.
They just crank it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Goddamn. I'm working hard over here. I'm like making mistake after mistake after mistake.
It's hard with kids because they get into their own life and they're like playing games or doing stuff with their friends. So if every once in a while they want to show me or tell me or explain something to me, I try to just like really pay attention.
Yeah,
because it doesn't always happen.
Right.
You know, it's like
very much happen that they invite you in.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like when my son be like, "Hey, watch me play video game." So I'd sit down and I'd watch him play his video game.
The same thing. I
had no idea what's going on.
No, you don't want to. Like, I got stuff on the stove. You know, I'm like, okay. Because how many more times are they going to ask me?
I know, yeah.
Be part of my thing I love. Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah. It's true. That's true. And I mean, and look, you know, like I said, my parents and I are cool. We've talked about everything that we need to talk about, and there's been forgiveness on both sides, you know. And I'm not here just dogging them out like that, but that was a really interesting way to grow up. Just being obsessed with something that nobody understood.
What? And you had this issue, which was, it wasn't just that they wouldn't go into your world, but it was like, this is not good for you, so we want to protect you.
Yeah.
And so we want to protect you from that, but it happened to be the thing that you loved. So that's a really tough challenge in your relationship that you both had.
Yeah.
You know, with the best intentions, right? Like they were trying to look out for you.
Right.
But it wasn't what's good for you because of all these reasons. That's what's really, I read this book years ago. It was about leadership. And it's my thing I use. I say it all the time. But one of the chapters was when you have a team, you have to give them the gift of authorship.
Amen.
So there has to be, like, when you give them a project or they're working on something, you got to let them do it. There's got to be something about how they do it that's their way. That's
the best.
Their lane.
Fingerprint on it.
You know, like if you're cooking, you don't want someone kind of grabbing what you're doing and turning it over, changing the heat or whatever. Like, that's your thing, right? Like, or if you're doing a song, you don't want someone coming in and changing the lyrics or whatever, or just doing stuff.
Yeah,
that's your baby, right? Like, so I think that's the hardest thing about being a parent, is because sometimes they do something that you think is a bad decision, and sometimes it's actually good for them.
Yeah.
And they have free will at a certain point.
Yeah.
And if you let them do what they want to do, sometimes they can make a lemon into lemonade.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
natural consequences, you mean? Like, things.
Yeah, like when my kids want to do something, I'm like, well, I don't think you should do that. But whatever you do, make sure it's the right thing.
Yeah.
Which is my dad humor way of saying, it's confusing, right? My dad humor way of saying, if I'm wrong, you got to ignore me and still do it anyways.
Yeah.
And it's also my way of saying, you're responsible for making the right decisions. You can't come to me and ask me what decision to make and then blame me for making the wrong decision, right?
All right.
So, like, I'm going to buy, instead of saving my money, I want to buy this. Well, I'm not going to bless that if it's a bad idea, but I'm not going to tell you not to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's a totally opposite way of parenting from when we were kids.
Yeah. Well, I think I feel like I was kind of given that upbringing, but it was more like, listen, they got like just you're raised, you're like
They give you a lot of
a lot
of room on the leash, right? Like there a lot of freedom.
right. I don't know. I guess I think it is different. I'm big on natural consequences myself. Like we were on a cruise last year. My son's just like eating a bowl of soy sauce. I'm like, don't do that.
Oh my god!
He's like,
they have like MSG in it and shit.
Probably.
Oh
He's
my
like,
god!
why? I want to. I'm like, okay. You're gonna get sick though. He's like, no, I won't. I'm like, okay. You will. But I need you to figure it out.
You only do it once. You only do it once.
Yeah. And we're on a cruise. So it's rocky already.
Oh my god!
You already can get a little queasy and serious.
Sick thinking about it.
Yeah, so he got sick immediately before the meals even came out. He was like, okay, all right. My God. So I don't need to ever tell him again not to suck down soy sauce. Right.
Yeah, he said you could like try to force him to do it and he wouldn't do it.
Right. So like I was a fan of how that played out.
And it wasn't like gonna kill him, so you're like, okay.
Yeah, right.
So my kids, their mom moved to Miami when they were younger, and so they would come and visit. And they came for, I think it was Christmas break, so it was like a week long, or over a week they were going to be with me. And my older son, my daughter's the oldest, and then my next son is 3 years younger than her, and then the one who's the third one, the one who's the tattooer, he's 3 years younger than him. And then my youngest was with the second marriage. So they come over and he's like 13, and he snuck a pack of Coke, like a 6-pack of Coke.
Yeah.
In his luggage, brought up to his bedroom. So I've never let him drink Coke, not even during the day. So he snuck this into his bedroom and he was drinking it all night, staying up all night drinking Coke. And he got so sick.
Yeah.
And at the end of the visit, he told me what he did. And I was like, I'll never do that again. So he had complete freedom.
Yeah.
He was the man. He wanted to drink Coke. He could drink Coke. I couldn't tell him no.
Yeah.
And then he was sick because he did, and he regretted it. So.
Yeah. I like that, man. Just figure it out. Figure it out for yourself. Figure out how it works.
Yeah, exactly. So you started as a kid. You met XL.
Yeah.
And he you were 15 when you started working with him?
Yeah. He would, I can't remember if I had a license or not. But they would record at the studio in Boston. He was in this group called Creators. They were really good. And they would record in Boston, and we got invited to go. Me and my buddy Mikey, and hang out in the studio with these guys. So, and then they're like, when you gonna do something? I'm like, I don't know, I want to do it like good. So he's gonna give you a beat. You gotta pay him for the time, and it's this much an hour. You gotta buy a roll of Ampex 2-inch analog tape. That's how they recorded.
That's hilarious. That's awesome.
Yeah. Or you can just kind of like borrow one. But you're going to get to keep the master of it, you know. But I wasn't worried about that because I know they're going to make a smash hit my first time in the studio, right? That's how we did it, you know. And I was always working. I started mowing lawns when I was in like 7th grade or something like that. I always had money. So I would pay for it myself. And I think it was like $300 all in to like, I think $100 for the beat and then $200 for
worst things you could spend your money on back then.
At that age, yeah, I thought it was pretty good, you know. And it must have been before I had a car. I think I was taking the train in, but my parents are cool. So I mean, like I was like, I'm going to Boston for the day. At 50 years old, they're like, okay, call us when you get there. Call us when you're on your way back.
That's the way I grew up.
Phone, you know. So that's how it was. So that's I started doing that, and I still didn't like telling people that I did it. I've always felt like I had to hide it through the last couple of years of therapy and all the stuff I've been doing to like fix myself. I realized that like almost everything I've ever done has not been accepted or rewarded on any level. So like from childhood. And so I've always done things secretly myself. And I didn't care if anybody liked it. The things didn't know good. And then, the thing is with music and any art, you got to give people a pathway to go find it.
Yeah.
You know, and so it started getting known that I made a rap song, and then like I dated this black girl in high school. Everybody, it was blowing people's minds in Medway.
Oh, in Medway.
Like, oh my, what the hell is this guy doing? And so, you know, me and my buddy started DJing too. We would DJ parties. And so I was just like a musical person, right? I was getting known as that. And then went to college, and I was like a freestyle fanatic. This is before, like real freestyle. Like, I don't know how to word it, but there was like what's called the Cypher, which is just like people outside a rap show would always be outside in a circle, somebody beatboxing, somebody rapping. You take turns. You got a sleeway in there, and you gotta go.
And you like to do that?
Yeah,
That's all.
it has to be good.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna get smacked. Not literally smacked, but you're gonna get they're gonna go over you.
Yeah.
And then you gotta go back over him, and then you gotta battle. And if you win, then the person gets to shut up, and you get to.
So that's is that like a new gen version of like when they used to do breakdancing and battle?
It was always a thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was right there. Breakdancing was more earlier, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like in that.
My brother did that.
And then this was like 90s. That doesn't really exist anymore.
Yep.
I don't see it anymore. People get shot now for stuff like people don't want to be. I got a crazy story about that. So like a battle thing, like I almost got killed.
Really?
They almost killed this kid that they thought was my friend. I thought he was gonna die. I was crazy. I didn't know the kid. I was just talking to him. They wanted it. Yeah, it was a whole thing. So that made me kind of second guess like being good at rapping, because it's like it's weird. Like hip hop is one of the only genres of music where like the best people get killed.
Just because you're rubbing up against people that they perceive you as being some type of diss or
I don't know.
or disrespect.
He's so white Tupac got killed. I don't know.
Yeah, but you weren't at that level. This was just
no.
we're just doing.
But no, it's a battle.
Right.
It's always a battle. Everything you do is battle based. Hip hop started as a battle. Started as DJs battling. DJs had an MC that would come on and say a couple things. It was always about the DJ, and then the breaker crews would come out and battle while they were battling.
Yeah.
That's always been the basis of it. Which is fine. But it's weird that even now I'm writing songs about how much better I am than you, and you really just don't get it. Not all my songs like that, but that's just like the core of hip hop. It's kind of like,
well, there's that big beef right now with what's his name? I guess
Drake and Kendrick.
Drake and Kendrick, and it's kind of a weird beef. And then it got real weird at halftime, I felt. But yeah, there's some interesting layers to that. They're really, and it does overlap with some of the really difficult tensions in some of the rough urban areas that we have, right?
Yeah.
There's some cultural ties to that kind of stuff. I still feel like I'm clueless on some of that stuff, but I learned a little bit about it from my son. Like, he was living in Miami, and then they moved to another part of Broward County. And I think his mom thought it was a nicer area, but the high school that he was going to was like 5,000 kids. It was like one of the biggest high schools in the country. And some of his friends that he made when he was going there, like a couple of his friends, their father was involved with some type of crime, and he just got out of jail. And then, so there were a lot of people they were hanging out with that were trouble.
Yeah.
And so when he moved to come live with me in Medway, it was an interesting contrast, because after he moved to come live with me, one of his friends got arrested for stealing cars back in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
So he was hanging around with some of those kids. Yeah. And then he also had situations where he felt threatened. And then his friends were packing. And in Florida, if you want a gun and you're 14, 15, you break into a car and people keep guns in their cars.
Oh,
So that's how so a lot of the kids had guns because they felt threatened and they felt like they needed to protect themselves. And of course, the music's singing about that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, because he told me, he's like, you know what lacking is? Don't get caught lacking, because I was listening to one of the songs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I have no idea what that means. He goes, it means that somebody jumps you and you don't have a gun.
Yeah.
So you got caught lacking, you can't defend yourself.
Yeah.
So that's the mentality these kids, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids in Miami had.
Yeah.
And he kind of had that experience. And then he moved to Miami. And then he had friends that were doing like their parents were wealthy, like they're doing really well.
Yeah.
But they were doing worse drugs than his friends in Miami were doing.
Yeah.
And he's like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so he had...
It's like that movie Traffic.
Oh, really?
You ever see that?
No.
That's a friend. You should watch it. Yeah. It's just all areas of the drug trade.
Yeah.
From Mexico, where they make you making it, or Colombia, wherever. Like,
Yeah.
to where they're bringing it to the drug czar, to law enforcement, to the inner city pushers, to the, Medway style kids.
Yeah.
Grow up in these wealthy ancestors that don't even know how lucky they are and start using smoky crack. And
Yeah, and so you had the crack epidemic, but now you have the opioids and now fentanyl stuff. That's affecting everybody, like suburbia, like everywhere.
yeah.
So that was kind of, I saw that through him. So he came to live with me in Medway. And the first week he was here, I took him to play basketball at the YMCA in Franklin.
Yeah.
And he asked this kid about where he can get some weed. And the kid said, do you want some crack? I can get you some crack. So true story, right?
Yeah.
To this day, if I tell a parent, if anybody listening to this in Medway that happened, they're like, they freak out. I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that shit happens here.
Yeah.
Like it's here, And
Medway has a very seedy underbelly.
well, and the funny thing is that because of the way my son is, he saw more and knew more than I knew.
Yeah.
And and no disrespect to anybody, like there are things that happen in Medway and everywhere where people are just doing what they have to do to survive, and then kids are making bad decisions. It happens everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Kids are learning to make bad decisions. So whatever, but the relationship to someone at that age, and then if you're getting involved with the genre of hip hop, now you're battling with some kids that really have to do certain things to survive.
Yeah.
And you're brushed up against that, right?
Yeah.
Does that relate to what happened in your story?
Not really, because I didn't like that kind of music. Like I liked hip hop is a culture. It's something you live. It's not necessarily the music. It's all of it. It's graffiti. It's breakdancing. It's DJing. It's beat making. It's even like entrepreneurialism of that's like to make up a word.
Yeah.
So I liked to listen to some gangster rap because I like watching Die Hard and I like watching Bloodsport. It doesn't mean I want to do those things.
Right.
It's entertaining.
Right.
Right. I never thought about doing those things.
Right.
I thought about making beats. I thought about writing rhymes, and I love like Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul and Digable Planets and Brand Nubian, Public Enemy, and Gangstar. Even though Gangstar has a name that would sound like gang. It's very smart, elevated, wise, intelligent, wise music about revolution, about unity, about discipline, about being you, fully you.
Yeah.
Fuck everybody else. About being a man of your word. All of these things I got from hip hop.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to get up from home either, but that was the kind of messages I listened to. So, like, to your point, my son's put out some crazy drill shit.
Drill is crazy. Yeah.
It's cool. We'll listen to that. But you're also going to listen to Moment of Truth by Gangstar.
Mm.
And you got to hear where he says, a righteous man will sacrifice to get what he deserves.
Yeah.
And when he talks about experience is the best teacher. Where he talks about not allowing satanic negative thoughts to change your path.
Gangstars?
Yeah, Gangstar. I would say start with Moment of Truth album and go back from there.
That's cool.
Probably my favorite group of all time. Guru, who was the main rapper. DJ Premier was the producer, DJ. Guru was from Boston, and went to New York to make it, quote unquote. You know. So no, I didn't really come up against that. I didn't come up like.
Well,
I mean, I wanted to smoke weed because I wanted to smoke weed because yeah, like
I'm not saying
rappers talking about it.
I'm not saying you came up against it. What I'm saying is that you're in a genre where some of the kids are of that ilk. Like they're coming from, either they have a wrong idea about what it's about, or they're coming from darker influences.
Yeah,
and it's a genre where you can rub elbows with those people more.
Yeah, for sure. When I was trying to like make it, like in the early 2000s, when I was trying to like be a name, there's a lot of, I call it nightclubs of crooks. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of shady backdoor business, a lot of drugs, and I felt like I was the only rapper in Boston at the time who did not so coke. I felt like that was the only one, and I feel like I didn't fit in
or sell it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Or sell it, because people want to have a certain look. They want to have a car. They want to, they might not have like a good landscaping job even.
Yeah.
Like some places, the only way to make money and have clothes and then be able to give your little brother clothes is to sell drugs.
Yeah.
So
I didn't have a life like that.
Yeah.
More nonce.
Yeah. There was that.
Works a lot.
There was so I felt like I learned a little bit about that, and then even through the music, like I was listening to, because my son was really into him, Kodak Black, and he's an interesting dude, and he's metaphorical, really clever, some of his stuff that he comes up with, but at first I thought it was stupid as shit. I was like, this makes no sense. He's singing about lean. I'm like, what's lean? He's like, well, it's, before I started telling you take this soda and you put this medical cough syrup that's got an opioid built into it.
Yeah.
And it slows down your breathing.
Yeah.
So, but it's really expensive. So when you peel back all the onions and I finally figured out what it was about, I'm like, oh, it's the same fucking shit as the rock and roll I listened to when I was growing up. But it was like fancy cars and girls. The only difference is that if you come from certain places, that's the symbol of wealth.
Yeah.
Lean is a symbol of wealth. It's not.
It's an expensive way to get fucked up.
It's an expensive way to get fucked up, but it's not about getting fucked up.
Yeah.
It's about having the status to afford lean. Yeah. But to someone like me, I didn't even know what lean was.
Yeah.
It made no sense whatsoever. Yeah. And here my 15-year-old's listening to this, talking about doing lean.
Yeah.
And then, smoking broccoli was cute, and I didn't think smoking weed was that big of a deal. But there was that stuff that I was learning, and then we even talked about thug life and what that means, and then I went down this rabbit hole, like learning and studying it, where that came from.
Having his own language.
Yeah. And then I started learning about thug life, and then Tupac and what he meant by it when he was before he started kind of going off the deep end. I felt like he had some really interesting messaging around that.
Yeah.
And then I don't want to talk too much about this, but it's kind of make a long story short about my journey with learning with my kid. So we got to a point where he was doing rap. He was singing some songs, recording. And he made a decision to stop doing it for a couple of reasons. One was that he was convinced that in order to have authenticity, he needed to have the thug lifestyle.
Yeah.
And right or wrong, that was his idea. So he made a decision not to do it because he thought that was required.
Yeah.
But the other thing that was funny, I thought, was I was listening to some of the songs and I started learning or appreciating them. And I remember that song, Mask Off, came out by Future.
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
So you know that song, it starts off, it's Percocet, Molly Percocet.
It sounds about right, yeah.
Chase
that one,
Chase.
I wouldn't listen unless you play it for me. Like,
yeah, you gotta listen to it. It's interesting. So he goes, chase a chick,
Yeah.
No, chase a check. He says, chase a check, never chase a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes, mask on, fuck it, mask off.
Okay.
So Ralph, my son, tells me, he's like, you know what that means, mask off? Because he would always translate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I have no idea what that means. He's like, if you're going to go rob a store or rob somebody, you don't have a mask on because you know you're going to kill them.
Oh, okay.
So I was listening to the song, and then like a month later, I'm like, I don't think he means that literally. I think he means that as a metaphor.
Right.
Like you're trying to accomplish something, or like it's like go big or go home. Like fuck it, mask off.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we're arguing. He's like, no, that's not meant as a metaphor.
Yeah.
So to him at the time, maybe now looking back, he thinks of it differently. But at the time, he was like, no, that's meant to refer to that part of that, that lifestyle. And I don't know Future that well, so I don't know, what he was thinking behind it. But it was interesting to have that conversation. And then I started like looking at all this stuff going, well, all these things could be metaphorically, because I'm a martial artist. Like I practice and I teach how to hurt people.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you use that in life to hurt people. It means that in every phase of life, there are battles, there are fights.
Yeah.
Like battles, like you were saying,
Yeah. And there's a skill set.
Yeah.
To win.
And metaphorically, like you could be a gangster, but you're not really a gangster in that sense.
Yeah. I think there are some real gangsters that rap. I think not a lot of them are really. And I think that if your son grew up in a different era where the message of hip hop was unity and being yourself, that he would be fine. He wouldn't feel like he had to become something to rap. He felt like he could rap about who he actually was in that moment.
Yeah, I think for whatever reason there were maybe the rappers that were succeeding, because there were some of those rappers that were succeeding that were part of that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then he started saying, he's like, look at, they're dead now. Look at, they're dead now. Look at, they're dead now. Like that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Among those people that are among those circles that really, do participate in that lifestyle, right?
Yeah. And that's, I mean, we're talking about that because that's what is easily available for you. If you go, what's rap today?
Right.
To bring these artists up.
Right.
But I keep coming back to what is hip hop, which is a mindset and it's almost like a martial art.
Yeah.
Right. It's a culture, and I keep saying it, but it's like a.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
It's like my religion. It's really like the way I tie my shoes. You could tell by the way I tie my shoes what I listen to. You know what I mean? Like you can, or the way I do something, and it's in other words, all those guys that you mentioned, Kodak Black, Future, they're 1/10 of the amount of hip hop that's out.
Yeah.
But if you don't know where to look and you don't have your antenna tuned in, you're not going to pick up the vibes from that, right?
Yeah.
If you go and tell the internet, I need to listen to rap, it's going to just put out algorithmic, I can't say that word, but an algorithmic take on what the best hip hop is right now. And you can go look at the charts and you'll see all those guys named on the charts. That's cool. But if you want to like listen to a guy like Odyssey from DC, and where you can learn major life skills from this guy.
Odyssey? It's called Odyssey?
Yeah, ODDISE. He makes all of his own music, writes all of his own rhymes, has tremendous knowledge about life, about doing things, and the way he's able to but you wouldn't know about him if you didn't look or know where to look or weren't constantly in that space.
Have you heard the conspiracy theories around that? Like how I can't remember if they're even alleging that the government was involved with this, but there were certain people that were trying to influence rap to be more negative, more past oriented.
Oh, hell yeah, I believe in that. Yeah. Well, it's like a machine.
Yeah.
And when you're in a real ghetto situation, I can't really speak with 100% validity on this, but this is what I've noticed from outside. If you want to make money, you got to either sell. We talked about this earlier off camera. You're a stripper or you're a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Biggie said either you sling a crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot.
Right.
You're an entertainer.
You got to
be drunk.
You're trying to make it out of where your situation is. Yeah.
Right. Once you get out. Don't be Aaron Hernandez. You're already rich.
Yeah.
You're still thugging. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Get out. The smart ones get out. So now they're out. But they still rap about this to make the money to keep them.
Yeah.
Now another young guy goes, oh, I got to do that. They don't get out. They get stuck. It's a machine. And it just keeps going.
Yeah.
It's a negative machine. So I like gangster rap. I'm not against it. I'm not like preaching against it at all.
No, I like.
But
I think that if it's a metaphor, and it's not a negative spiral. That's my theory, but I don't.
they're doing. I don't know if it's out yet, but I heard that who's doing a series on King Von. You know him at all, rapper.
King what?
He's a serial killer.
Oh,
He's dead now.
is he the one that
He killed like 7 or 8 people, like
I just spell it King Von
VON.
VON.
Yeah, King Von.
I know there was a guy that went to jail because he sang about what he did.
Yeah, it was Bobby Schneider. All the best guys that are like could very well be prophetic, like Bob Marley's level of prophecy.
Yeah.
Like Nipsey Hussle gets killed. XXX Temptation, however you say his name, gets killed. Big L killed. Tupac I thought was really awesome, different stuff, killed.
Yeah.
It's very strange. I don't never want to be that famous or that kind of rapper.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I feel like a vessel. I have an idea for a song. I'm going to make that song.
Yeah.
Because it's been given to me by the Most High. I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to just give people a path to find. And that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm making music now. It feels really good.
That's cool.
Because it feels like an exercise of like joyful gratitude.
Yeah.
Then I'm better than you. And I'm going to do this better than you. And I want to make sure you understand that,
Yeah.
like, I still talk shit, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Well, talking shit's healthy.
Yeah. But like,
I think so. I think I'm a big fan of comedians. So
yeah, it's similar to that, But I think that when it comes to like, when you just say the genre of rap, that's what that is. It is the top 40 rappers. But when you say hip hop, that's something totally different. And that's, like I said, it's got its own language. It's got its own expectations, and it's got its own standards. It's very, very much like any religion or any sort of like brotherhood. Although it's not limited to just men, obviously. And that, for some reason, in that culture, I felt like an accepted guest. Yeah, it made me feel really at home and made me feel like myself.
included.
Yeah, and it just made me feel like me. Like, oh, this is who I am.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why I caught that groove at that young age.
Yeah.
But I did.
But then you got married and you put it away for a while.
I put it away for a while, and I can blame her in the beginning for the way she was like treating it. But at the end of the day, really, I was the one who decided maybe she's right. And for like 12 years, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And it feels good to be doing it now.
That's awesome.
But I'm very lucky, man, because I feel like I still really enjoy cutting hair. I really enjoy it.
That's a cool art too. That's awesome.
Straight up to 10-hour days. We're getting a little old. But I still really like watching a fade kind of pop out once it starts coming.
Yeah.
Shit. It's like a sunset,
I know. I feel like that with what I do. Like, there's certain things I want to do, but it's cool being able to do what I do. Like, I can help somebody protect a trademark, or I can help somebody work on a deal or an agreement. I can help a new company or an inventor devise their patent portfolio so they have patents.
Yeah.
So that they can own some property rights in that invention.
Cool.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to come and compete with them, maybe they can't stop them from doing what they're doing. But if they have patents that affect what they're doing, then they can kind of maybe cross-license. So you kind of protect protect yourself.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's kind of cool. And then I understand technology. So it's kind of it's an art, but it's very painful, especially when you're doing those like long days. Like when you,
Painful, like it's just you got minutia to it.
yeah, and if you're working on a project and it takes 40 hours and you got a deadline and now you're spending 12 hours working on that.
Wow.
It's a long day. It's kind of it's stressful, but at the same time, when you finally finish, you put out that product. It's like,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool.
Have you read that Rick Rubin book?
No, I haven't read. I've seen some of his talks, and I might have seen a little bit of some clips from a podcast of his.
Yeah. That was probably the final push I needed to get back into making music as much as I am now.
Yeah.
I'll make a song here or there before, but now it's pretty much every day I'm working on something.
Wow.
And that book helped me more than any self-help book,
Go and check it out.
now you're divorced book is what I would call those books, here's how you play now that because I was completely sidelined. It's called The Creative Act. It helped me understand that I am an editor at art. I edit everything I do. I edit hair all day.
Yeah.
I edit music. I edit.
Yeah.
I will edit this living room if you give me enough time. You know what I mean? Like I'll edit, change things. I'll make them look or steam or sound how I think they should look. And people tend to like how it looks after or sounds after. So that's cool. And I'm an artist, and that's why I've been so sensitive my whole life. That's why I think my parents did me when I was 7. That's why I was open.
Because you pay attention to stuff, you see stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without even trying, I'm really open to, I feel people's vibe, feel people's subject. And these are all tricks as an artist.
Which is cool, but it's a curse at the same time.
It is when you're not trying to be an artist.
Yeah.
When you're trying not to be an artist, all your artist shit is still there, and it hurts.
It's hard. It's hard. I think it's hard as a parent. I don't know if you feel this way, but I think it's hard as a parent because you, if I have, because I pick up on stuff, if I'm with my kids, or especially when they were younger and I'm taking care of them, and I had something I had to work on, the two would pull so hard.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be there for my kids, but then I was trying to do whatever I had to do.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. I deal with that as well.
And you pay attention to stuff that they're going through, or you feel stuff that they're feeling, which is kind of hard. So sometimes I feel like, empathy's cool, or noticing stuff's cool, except for when it's not. Because it hurts you sometimes, right?
Have you ever heard Dinosaur Jr.? You ever hear that band, Dinosaur Jr.?
No.
Forget the name of the song.
I want to write that down.
The chorus is like, I feel the pain of everyone.
Yeah.
The verse is like, I feel the pain of everyone. And then I go home and feel nothing. And I really relate to that.
Wow.
I feel everybody's shit, all their angst and all their happiness and their sadness. And by the time I get home, I don't feel anything. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to make music after work.
Right.
It's easier to write on the way to work. I'll put on some beats to the car, and I'll kind of come up with some things, jot those down, or say them into my phone. So,
because your creativity switches off by the time you go through all that whole day, right?
It can, or it can really inspire me, but it's usually I'm dead, and almost all my studio sessions are like 8 to 11 at night. So now I'm trying to I just realized I could record decent vocals at my house just recently. And so if I can do that in the morning, like on a Saturday morning, kids get up, we make breakfast, they play video games for 2 hours, daddy goes in the basement, works the song.
Yeah.
It's more me at that point, and then I can take that to get mixed later. I don't have to be on, But
so that's your creative process that you're trying to move toward now, where you have the mornings.
Yeah. I used to always get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and meditate, read, pray, exercise, and be kind of good for myself before the kids woke up at 6:37.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back to that, but I've had the worst time. I suck at sleeping, dude. I need to
I'm having trouble with that. I I have trouble sleeping, and if I wake up at 4 or 5, I know if I get up and I'm up for the day, I'm gonna be useless. I mean, I can get some stuff done, but I'm not gonna be effective for the whole day.
Yeah.
But I also know that if I could get up at 5 or 6 and function well, I could probably get an hour or two of doing creative things that I want to do.
Yeah, for sure. You don't have to get to bed though early.
Yeah. Well, but that screws me up too, because if I go to bed early, then I wake up even earlier.
Yeah. You gotta find that sweet spot.
Yeah. So you're doing that, and you're just happy doing that.
Yeah, so I had a bunch of hobbies, and I'm like I have addict energy, and I've been sober like 3 years now. I realized I have a problem with alcohol. And
well, that's great. 3 years.
Yeah, it feels good.
Congratulations.
Thanks. But I only have one speed when I do shit.
Yeah.
You know? And so like last year or 2 years ago, I got super into golf. Obsessed with golf.
I heard it's dangerous.
I can't, any free moment I had, I'm at the drive range, or I'm watching a golf video, or I'm golfing.
Yeah.
Actually, I would get up at 5:30 and be at the place for 6:20 tea time. All the time, every morning before work, golfing, you know, like, it's cool. Doesn't fulfill my soul at all.
So now you're doing more creating and less golf?
Yeah.
So does part of you want that just to be a hobby? Or does part of you say, well, maybe I can have that part of my career?
I think I would like to be able to make, like, a little bit of money off it.
Yeah.
But I'm finding ways to do that don't feel perverse. Because you can do a lot of...
In what ways do you mean? Why do you say perverse? Like where you're trying to force it? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Or just be like a culture vulture. Just be like, oh, the kids like drill beats now? You can download an app. I got an app on my computer right now. I can make a drill beat in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I can make probably 10 drill beats.
So you don't want to
sell them.
You don't want to sell out. You don't want to do like
yeah.
What's his name? They got in trouble for selling out by not what's in the
talking about MC Hammer?
MC Hammer. Yeah, it would be like MC Hammer. You're selling out.
He did MC Hammer was a bad man. If you look him up, man, he was a real G.
No, I liked him.
He was like a real gangster.
He just got criticized for going mainstream.
Yeah. He laughs all the way to the bank.
Yeah.
But somebody, I forget, there was a rapper he was gonna have killed. I forget who it was. He was like a real gangster for real. Like people thought he was a friggin'. He's a household name. He was doing KFC commercials. You know what I mean? Like the dance.
Oh yeah.
But he was a real street guy. Anyway,
that's interesting.
I think what I would like is to find out. One of my clients, this guy Mark's great guy, he brought me this book called I forget the name of it, but it was about like creative entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial creatives or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's talked about all these different people who are musicians, but like you're not always going to be a session musician. You're not always going to have to work. You're not always going to be touring. So how you make money in between while still being in your joy.
Yeah.
And it really brought some clarity to what I can do. Like one of the things I've been toying with is how to, there's like School of Rock for kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's the movie, but then there's a real School of Rock.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to be a part of something like that for hip hop. Like kids how to make
that's cool
beats. How do I even start that? How do I get that? I'll figure it out when it comes, but that'll be a way for me to be just behind the drum machine making beats. But
you could do a Substack.
Okay.
And then if people are interested in it, you can even start, you could basically make it optional, but you could be like, if you want access to this, you can pay for it, or you can get it for free, but if you want to pay for it, you can.
Yeah.
But you could do a Substack. I'm doing that. I have a new Substack I started for teaching people how to do patents and trademarks.
Okay. That's great.
Helping teach clients on the strategy, but also like someone who has their own company or their own invention, or like someone who's just going to law school or out of law school and they want to learn it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean,
That's interesting.
These are ways that I wouldn't mind making money that don't feel like I'm pimping this thing out. You know what I mean?
Your content itself could be fruitful.
Yeah, so that, I think
that's pretty good stuff.
I have like enough songs to release a song every month now for over a year.
Yeah.
And if I didn't make anything new. So now I'm still making new stuff every week. So I need to get like a release structure, I have like the creative process down. Write it, record it, get it mixed. Boom, it sits on my laptop.
Yeah.
Almost is my laptop. Now it's stacking up.
So now you got to get that process
out. It's hard to keep figuring that out. And then I do need to figure out social media around what my way, not like what's hot right now. Like I'm just gonna do it my way.
Yeah,
it tends to work the best at the end of the day.
You want to be authentic to you, and you want to like. I mean, I think that I'm really trying to work on just getting the time to do it, because if I have work to do, and then I start doing, I got to come up with some windows of time, like we talked about, like getting up early maybe in the morning, where I can do it, because you got to put a little bit of creativity into it.
Sure.
But it's an opportunity for you just to let people know who you are authentically, right?
Yeah.
Like you do it your way. But as they get to know who you are, then they're going to be like, oh, let me listen to this music.
Correct. That's hopefully the idea. Yeah, I like that idea.
Because they can relate to you.
I think.
Or it's your message or whatever,
Yeah. I used to be really comfortable in front of the camera, and now I'm not. So it's weird.
Yeah.
I don't mind this.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like when I make a video for Instagram, I feel weird. I feel like I do weird stuff with my hands. Like maybe that's just I'm weird. I gotta be accepting of that. But
yeah, I know what you mean.
I feel like there's a look I have in my head of how this video should look, and I didn't like it, and I don't know how to make it look like that. And I started with thinking it.
Yeah, I know. I think it's definitely like a skill that you just have to like. And my son tells me flat out, he's like, Dad, you just need to post more.
Yeah.
And then, so you get more content out there, you're doing it more, and then it's going to get better over time.
Yeah.
And then people are going to see you and they're going to get to know you. But yeah, like I have the same problem where like if I'm just talking to the phone, it's different than if I'm imagining I'm talking to a particular person, or you know what I mean, or if someone's there. Like if you and I have a conversation, this is just a normal conversation,
right?
But if I'm just talking into the phone, it's not going to be authentic. It's going to be weird, right? So how do you get used to that? That's a challenge. It really is a challenge.
Yeah, I'll figure it out when it's time. I'm a big prayer guy, and so I had a situation a few months back where I was just really upset that my kids weren't with me, that they were with their mom, and it was just her day. I'm going to get them in 2 days, But I was just like, I wish we were all still a family, and I was really upset about it. I stayed up, I'm walking around my apartment, and I'm like, God, why is this like this? Why is things like this? Why did you put me through this? Why? And I'm just like pacing around. I mean, I probably look like a psychopath, somebody's watching this. But I started to feel this idea come upon me, like, you're right where you need to be right now. And I was like, okay, then what am I supposed to be doing? Am I supposed to be making music? Am I supposed to be doing something else? Am I wasting my time? What am I here for? You made me for a reason. What the hell am I here for? And it was like this real clear message to me that it's like, if you knew you were going to die tomorrow, like you're going to go to bed right now, you're going to wake up and at the end of that day at midnight, you're dead. And you're going to get to see your family, and you're going to get to say hi to everybody and all that stuff. And what's the first thing you're going to do? Not only that you're going to see your kids and you're going to see everybody you're going to see, what's the first thing you want to do that day? And the first thing came to mind, I want to go down to my studio, I want to make a beat, and I want to write something to it. That's a great message. It's that simple for me.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I'm here for.
Yeah.
So golf can happen when it happens, and like in sports cards can happen when it happens.
Okay, you like that too?
Yeah. Like I go all in and spend thousands and thousands of dollars on it. You know what I mean? Like music, I kind of have all the equipment already. So
that's cool.
Spend few hundred here, a few hundred there. But anyway, the point of that was that, okay, that's legitimately why I'm here. And I find so much joy in that groove that you keep talking about. There's a groove that happens in music, or when you're in it, it's like, ooh, this pocket that I feel totally at peace with everything in my life, and totally at peace with myself and with the creator and everything. And so if I can go there every day, why not go there?
So it's interesting. So when you're doing a post for social media, you don't feel comfortable because you're just, there's you in the camera.
Yeah.
But when you're recording,
Yeah.
and you're making new music, you don't have that problem.
Correct.
It's not like you have to be in the studio with other people there.
Correct.
Although there would be different energy with that as well. But
a couple weeks ago, I went live on a Friday night and made a beat from scratch. And that felt really good. It felt right. I didn't know what I was doing with the live thing, so it was funny because the first 10 seconds of it.
Oh, you made a beat from scratch while you were on live?
On Instagram
cool.
Live, yeah. And that felt really good. And I got some of my friends later on, guys I coach with and stuff, were like, dude, I saw it on Instagram last time. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. Because you got to look up all the time to see who was up.
Yeah.
I missed you on there, but a few people I did, I shouted out. It was really fun, and that felt totally normal because I was just in my space.
Yeah.
I was wearing pajamas, you know what I mean?
That's cool.
But it was cool to see, and a couple people damn, I didn't know you could do that. Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time, and I was like, how do you do that? You just...
That's awesome.
And it's that makes you feel like an alchemist, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
thinking these sounds and making stuff. Anyway, get over a tangent, but yeah, that felt natural, that felt right. So maybe it's more of that. Or maybe it's nothing, man. Maybe it's just fucking nothing. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe just keep making music, putting it out, and see what happens.
Yeah, we keep on putting it out, and there's definitely there's and this is my theory. I like to connect with people. Society has been redesigned, right? So society is changing. So you go to a place that you normally run into certain people, and now, I used to run into certain people at the Starbucks in Medway, all the time. So you go back 18 years when my son was born. That was the only Starbucks around.
Mm-hmm.
So I would meet people from Holliston, Buckington, Midfield, Millis, Franklin. They'd all come to that Starbucks at Medway.
Okay.
There was no drive-through.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a Dunkin' Donuts person.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't meet Dunkin' Donuts people.
Right.
So there's a certain, it's like a joke. I kid around with people about that. Are you a Dunkin' Donuts person or are you a Starbucks person?
Yeah.
But
That's fun.
But the point is that, I got to know so many people, and it was my community. And literally at the time, I'm thinking, this is like in a better version of the old country club where everybody would go meet at the country club, or the village where everybody go meet downtown,
Yeah.
And it was cool. It was just a really cool vibe. And then two things happened: social media and Facebook,
Right.
and the drive-through,
Yeah.
and a bunch of other Starbucks all in the other towns.
Yeah. Right.
So I didn't run into any of those people anymore. So if you think about how we evolved as humans, we're meant to connect.
Yeah. Agreed.
We're meant to be with our tribe. We're meant to be,
Yeah.
our pack. If you look at dogs or wolves, pack.
I like that metaphor.
And we don't have that anymore, the way we used to.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like when you're working at your shop and stuff, but I feel like I don't have that because I don't interact with my clients personally as much, and I'm working home, so I try to get out. But I feel like it's not entirely natural, but it could be positive. There's something to social media and all that, where if you use it a certain way, it can open up doors to connecting with people.
Uh-huh.
And then you can use it as a way to connect with people.
Yeah.
But making that happen is a challenge.
Right.
And so...
Yeah, Sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
No. So So I don't know, like, is it about using that stuff, creating a direct access to your tribe, to your people? Like you said, like you don't want a million followers, but you want your tribe. You want to build that tribe.
Yeah.
You got to build it. And then once you build it, now you have a connection with those people. And now you can do things to where, like if you want to teach, they're going to come to you because you post something about it. And then they're like, oh, they're going to come to that course. Right. Or you're going to, you put out some music and you want them to, you want to have like some thing, that some momentum where you maybe have people around you and you're doing things, or you're playing, you're singing live, or that's going to happen more once you get to that point. So I guess if I look at like what Joe Rogan does with him, with what he does, which I really kind of get a kick out of, is that he really needs to have his tribe. He needs to have his people around him. And COVID happened, and he was isolated. Yeah. He was still doing his podcast, but he couldn't do his podcast, so he moved to Austin. Yeah. But he still didn't have his tribe around him, so he knew that wasn't good for him. Yeah. He would have people come in and do the podcast, but it would be one person at a time, right? Right. So what did he do?
Opens a comedy club.
He opens up a comedy club. Yeah. And why can he pack that comedy club? Because of all this stuff he did with social media and his podcast. Yeah. Where he's got direct contact with his tribe, and then he's got personal relationships with the other comedians. Yeah. And then he literally, I just didn't even realize he did this. He paid all the staff that he hired from the comedy club out in LA. He paid them for a year while he was building the comedy club.
Oh, wow.
So they were all on his payroll before he finished the comedy club, and then they were able to come out.
Wow. Yeah, that's good, man.
And now he goes to his green room and he hangs around with all his buddies. Yeah. Whenever he wants to.
Not isolated anymore.
He's not isolated anymore. But that's all the shit he had to go through to get to that point. Yeah. So I don't know if, and I think I see my son doing that, where he's, and you see it in his social media posts, because when he was doing social media posts 2, 3, 4 years ago, it was just him, or maybe a couple people in the tattoo shop. But now it's like every time you see a post, it's him, the guy he's tattooing, and it's like your shop, right? But he's got like 8 other artists, and they're all like together interacting. So that's where I'm like thinking, well, that's why I'm doing the podcast, because I'm like, well, if I want to get together for lunch with somebody, nobody has the time to get together for lunch anymore. Right. So I'm like, well, if I do a podcast, what is it? It's like getting together for lunch. It's a couple hours of just having a normal conversation, right?
This is funny because a lot of stuff you're saying, I realize I have just baked into what I've chosen to do. Right. Like a lot of my friends just come see me at the barber shop to get a haircut.
That's awesome. Yes.
I hang out with them for a half hour, 40 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
I'm lucky, Matt. Even uncles,
That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
That's cool. Also, I'm realizing with my podcast, I did create a lot of value for free. And I never did the other 20%. I never had a call to action. Yeah. I was always posting stuff about it. I kind of did all that inadvertently. I did have a tribe. I have a lot of people still hitting me up from all over the world, like, when are you going to do more episodes? And I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it. I got nothing else to say. It's like a complete body of work. Start at 1. So I need to make like a...
What was your podcast about?
It's called Barbering in Real Life. It was like the bridge between barber school and the actual career, because barber school's awful. And you get up thrown in a shop, and if you don't have the right guidance, it's very... I almost didn't make it.
So did you just talk, or did you have guests on?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like 75 episodes or something like that.
So it's like
before pod, everybody had a podcast.
So are you basically showing people what it's like, but also teaching them at the same time?
Yeah, it's like asking questions like, do you feel like this? And that means this is probably happening. Do you feel like that? Like, make sure you find a shop that has an owner, that has a heart teacher that wants you to be better than them. Don't find somebody who's going to make sure you suck and they're the best person in the shop. be careful of the industry right now. It's full of culture vultures, people that realize that barbers spend money, so now they're making barber products when they don't know shit about barbecue. I could go on and on about that. So there's a lot of episodes. I think legitimately, I had 70 episodes based on barbering. And then I started to try to bring it back last year, and I was just more or less talking about life.
Yeah.
And I think at some point I will do that again.
That's kind
of so much, you know.
If you think about it, it's kind of a potential next chapter of what you're doing, right? Because that's relevant too. Like I do that a little bit with my podcast. Like I want to have conversations where I learn.
Yeah.
And the people that I like to talk to are the people that I touch. So I do intellectual property work, so I touch artists.
Yeah.
I touch other, like I interact with lawyers. I interact with entrepreneurs. I'm a parent, so I like to talk about stuff that are relevant to parenting.
Right.
I do martial arts, so I like to talk to people that do martial arts. But it's a totally different style podcast. But I don't know. I think podcast is pretty cool. I like it.
It's a great medium. I feel good doing it. I think I know now, looking back, that I was trying to have a voice. At that point in my life, I didn't have a voice because I had stopped making music. Yeah, I didn't realize that music was my voice. I didn't realize any of this.
Yeah,
it was something,
So now you're like, you're focusing on the music, but there's still part of you like, well, maybe.
Well, I guess I want to do that podcast because I love helping people, and I have a lot of knowledge that I wanted to share.
Yeah.
And I like having a voice. I like being known as a voice in this thing.
Yeah.
Whatever that's XYZ. But that's what I had when I was making hip hop. Right? And so it went away, and I filled it with that, not realizing. But then as soon as I got my music back and got my legs back under me, and then that was another part. It's funny to say this because I was cutting XL's hair a couple of years ago, and I was like, he's like, you got the beats, you got the stuff, like, he's got to book a session with this guy. I'm like, I don't know if I should go over there. That studio is so big, and it's like really like a famous people go there, and it's like I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't even know what I'm doing yet. And he like made me stop cutting his hair. And he like turned to look to me. He's like, don't ever say that again.
That's awesome.
Like, you have what it takes.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember telling him, like, I just don't know if I have anything left to say. And man, was I wrong. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm so glad that he believed in me at that point, at my lowest point, just enough to push me up, just enough to get to the next ledge. Yeah. And then I could see everything, And so
that's a good relationship.
I'm very thankful for that. He's like my big brother that I never. God's always put people around me.
Yeah.
I've been surrounded by the best mentors in different things. Whenever I decide I want to, I just decided, I just told my kids yesterday, I really want to, I got to start focusing on my health. And I told them I'm an addict. Guys, this is what happens. I don't know if I have to force civilization.
Yeah.
It doesn't go that way with me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to have one whiskey. It doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
So I go all out until I'm sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sick right now with my food. And I walk in and we're talking about that, and you've got this book over there for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that book may be in other words, as I need things, as I start saying things,
yeah,
things come around me.
Well, that's why I'm like really big into connecting, because I just feel like we evolved that way. Like we need our pack. Like we need to have that. And those connections are, I just thought of something. I don't know how to make it happen or but I want to start having more podcasts where we talk to artists. And I was thinking, I don't know. I think it might be cool. Like you and I could have, like, if a new artist is in the area, have a podcast where they come and we talk to them.
Nice, yeah.
Like have an episode once in a while doing something like that, Yeah. Because I feel like there's a community in this area, like Worcester, Providence, Boston, where there are a lot of artists.
Yeah.
But, like, would they like that? Like, would that be a cool thing that would be helpful to have a business owner who successfully started and runs a barbershop and also is an artist, and an intellectual property lawyer that knows the legal stuff,
Yeah.
and talk about stuff,
That sounds interesting. Yeah. I wonder if there's already a scene and a podcast that we would need to go find and be like, hey man, you gotta let us in because we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Versus trying to attract a scene or create a scene.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just wonder if there's a scene though, because I just feel like
I think a lot of it's online.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm liking a lot of online, not a lot, but a couple, 3 different, beat maker discords.
Yeah.
And school communities. Are you familiar with school communities?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm in a school community that's actually helped me tremendously. That community's helped me like 10x my skill level with beat making, like creating.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really nice to have those things and have people to bounce ideas off of. Like, I'm usually enthusiastic about a specific drum machine, the MPC, made by Akai. There's a bunch of different ones. They make new ones, but the old ones are really, really dope. And I like fixing those up and finding old ones. And there's a whole community of people just like me on Discord.
Oh, that's
that think that also have the MPC 2000 and 2000 XL, and they know how to. And I've learned how to fix all this stuff from people like that. And so, in other words, there's scenes. Yeah, they're.
So you go get a device that's an older device, and then you fix it and still use it.
It's kind of like restoring old cars.
Does it have a different sound that you want particularly that you don't get from the newer device?
Exactly. Yeah, it's a warmer analog sound.
Is it?
Yeah, the converters. Yeah, like if you like almost all 90s hip hop is made on an SP1200 or an MBC.
Yeah.
Usually the 60s.
So I told you I played guitar when I was younger. And I studied electrical engineering, so my senior project was all about computer music.
Oh.
And then I studied
amps.
I studied computer music, I love the analog stuff. I remember being into, was it Michael Schultz, the guy that was a guitar player from Boston?
Oh,
he had a little sound device that people would hook up to their guitars, this little box.
Oh, really?
To make it sound like the amp distortion.
Okay.
But yeah, I like that kind of stuff.
Cool. It's interesting. Just converters that don't exist anymore. You can't buy them anymore. They're in those machines. They're not making any more of those machines, man. Everything they make it now is a version that looks like that, but it's planned obsolescence, just like cell phones and shit. So you buy the illest one they make for $2,000, $2,500, and it's gonna probably be a piece of shit in 3 years. This is a guy I follow on Instagram. He's great. He was talking about somebody's like, is an MPC 2000 XL really relevant right now? He's like, is a 78 Grand National still a car that people want to drive today? Yeah, you dumb. Of course it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's different.
Right.
It's not new and exciting. It's not electric. It doesn't have a crazy dashboard. But it's a Grand National, man.
So is it from a sound perspective, is it kind of like the Marshall amps for guitar? You know what I mean? Like the Marshall amps for guitar are tubes. They're tube amps.
Yeah.
So they still make tube amps nowadays, I think. But once you went digital, you couldn't get, like, there was a certain harmonics and a certain kind of like tone that you got from the older technology that you couldn't get once they went digital.
So I can't attest to what that sounded like, but it's very similar mentality.
Similar concept.
I can get them
like a Stradivarius versus a computer electronic version of a violin. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. Like, that's because even sometimes now I'm thinking, man, what if I could find an old 2X tape machine? Because then
to record it analog.
Yeah, because it'd be so cool. Like, because that's physically changed. It's a thing that it goes through a physical change. The tape, it gets imprinted with this sound, and the physical change happens. It's real. It's like, and so sometimes that bass will bleed through a little bit.
Yeah,
you get a different sound. Whereas right now it's all binary.
So you might be able to even create with a tape the sound, and then even if you digitize it afterwards, you still might get a different sound than you would ever get.
I think
You went right to digital.
Yeah, I think about that a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, I get so weird and I'll get just addict energy again. It was so obsessed that like all my dreams are like in a drum machine. I'm like inside. Like I'm looking at, I'm like in it. I'm like I've shrunk down to this big and I'm inside. I try to like figure out where's the most important piece. You know what I mean? Because I find a lot of joy in that area, man, you know? And I think that
There's unlimited creativity with that.
yeah. So that's the cool thing with the old machines too. They actually do have a lot of limitations, but that's actually what makes the person more creative. Right?
Right.
So the newer machines have no limits. You can do whatever you want. So I just have to think of it and then look it up and I can do it.
Right.
Versus going, yeah, I can't get there from here. How do I do that? Like,
I don't know if this makes sense to you, but if I was to rap, or like when as a lawyer, when I speak, when I go to a judge and speak, or I speak to a jury, or I speak to a group of people, I have a certain cadence, and so my style would never be to be fast.
right.
It would be like, it would be inauthentic. It would be like something about, like, how do you create complexity and layers to what I'm saying without me saying a lot fast?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it kind of reminds me of that, like, just adding more things doesn't necessarily make it better.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I don't know where you're going at first, but that's exactly what it is.
You know what I mean? Like you.
Yeah. It's now your word choice.
Yeah.
And where you choose to slow down or come up.
There's so much nuance.
Inflection.
So much nuance you can build into that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like drawing. Like, my son's into black and white. I was always into black and white. This is my first color, my first and only color piece, I think.
Yeah.
But he does. But he's able to do detail and nuance with the black and white without the additional complexity of the color.
Yeah.
So there are things you could do. Yeah, no, I really like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm a minimalist in art. You know, I think I like having my old ass truck. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, I like newest Seekers. You know, I think I wrote, I don't know if I recorded that verse, but like, I don't like new shit unless it's kicks. Give me the same old car, the same old crib. I like my shit broken in. I got 2 dogs and 2 kids that ruin shit. So for me, buying new, it's useless. You know, like, I don't mind stuff that's been walked around in. In fact, I kind of prefer it, you know?
Yeah.
I like buying old vinyl. I like buying drum machines that somebody used to beat up and I can fix it, replace it, and restore it and make it look crazy, you know? And
What do you drive?
I have a 2014 Dodge Ram. I bought it 2016. It just passed inspection, thank God.
Oh, man.
I got 175,000 miles on it. Probably needs some struts soon. It needs tires probably around the fall.
Yeah.
But I keep doing the brakes on it and the oil changes on it, and that's fine.
Did you ever think about buying an older car?
I don't know enough about cars to be able to fix it. So I don't want to do that, but I love the idea of having an older car.
Yeah.
Like if I came into a lot of money and I could get one of those already redone,
Yeah.
they're able to do that. Sometimes I think about kind of a morbid thought, but I'm turning 46 tomorrow, actually. So.
Oh, happy birthday, Dan.
Thanks, man. So, if I keep cars for 10 years, I got like maybe 3, maybe 4 more car stops that I get to buy. I think I might buy something like fun.
Yeah.
You know, like not a Corvette fun, but like, I've always wanted a Caddy.
That's awesome.
I've always liked the Dodge Chargers and Challengers. You know, maybe it's time to do something like that. I don't know. But for the most part, I don't like nice new things. Even those things I will buy used.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, you know, kind of vintage mentality and like I said, minimalist. Just like, you know, I have enough hats, I have enough stickers that I'm, you know.
Right. Right. This is awesome, man.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun.
Is there Is there anything you want to shout out or mention?
No, I guess I said people want to find me I am on Instagram. Primarily it's Jake_cuts_fresh, but JakeCutsFresh.com, no underscores, no spaces, where you would find my podcast and any new music that I have coming out. That site's a work in progress. I'm trying to figure out how to make it like a dual use site.
Yeah.
So, but it's pretty simple to get.
Oh, it's just
cool. It doesn't look
It doesn't link to your podcast anymore, does it?
Yeah, it should.
It does?
It should have a podcast.
It says podcast, but I clicked on it and it didn't seem to take me to it.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
It might have been me, though, because I'm bad with technology.
No, it could very well be. Maybe I canceled off a link or
okay.
Thing,
Yeah.
I like building websites, and I feel like I got pretty good at it, but I also get sidetracked at launch really easily. And it's like I could easily have forgot to relink a page once to move it or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good to know. I'll check it out. But yeah, either way, you can find anything on there. Instagram is almost the best way to go because I have a link tree there.
Right.
And you can just go to everything right from there.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I got some music coming out soon. So all the music I've been making the last year or so is going to come out one song a month for 12 months probably.
Oh, awesome. So you came out with, since I met you, came out with a couple songs, right?
Yeah, I think I have like 3 releases last year on Spotify. Mm-hmm. Actually 4 technically, because I have some instrumental I put up. My buddy Mateo, who I mentioned him earlier, has an album that he produced all the songs and have all these different artists on it. I have 3 songs of that. One of them I'm really, really proud of.
Oh, nice.
I think it could be very big if I got on the right hands,
Which one's that?
It's called All of This.
Okay.
Mateo gets GETZ is the artist, and that's coming out on the 25th. So that's, I believe, a week from Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
That's his birthday. That's why he's putting it out that.
Nice.
But back in the day, new music came out on Tuesday. Now it's always Friday. So I think it's kind of cool.
Oh, that is cool.
But yeah, so there's that. Just if anybody ever wants to talk about anything that I just talked about, or we talked about, I'm very easy and very accessible to get for me and so
That's awesome.
all that stuff. So yeah.
All right, bro.
That's it, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
We'll see you next time.